Hello, we've got a big crowd here this evening. I would like to call the August 26, 2025 City Council regular meeting to order at this time. City Clerk Ben Lane, please do us a roll call.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor Lisa Borowski.
Present.
Vice Mayor Jan Duboskus.
Here.
Council members Barry Graham.
Here.
Adam Quasman.
Here.
Kathy Littlefield.
Here.
Marianne McCallum.
Present.
And Solange Whitehead.
Here.
City Manager Greg Caton.
Here.
Interim City Attorney Louis Santea.
Here.
City Treasurer Sonia Andrews.
Here.
Acting City Auditor Lake Clough.
Here.
And the clerk is present. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much. This evening we have Scottsdale Police Officer Lahander and Police Officer Shalak, as well as firefighter Ronaldo Igliani. Hopefully I said that right. If anyone requires their assistance, please see a member of the staff. For the invocation, actually, Pledge of Allegiance, I'd like to call upon Councilman Graham to lead us in the pledge.
Very good. Be my pleasure.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. And for the invocation tonight, I'm pleased to welcome Pastor Dan Horner, Youth Pastor Dan Horner from Scottsdale Bible Church, and he will provide the invocation for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Something is in the water, and we don't need a committee to investigate. Something has gotten a hold of teenagers in this city. We are hearing stories right now of students being saved from depression, suicide, loneliness, and fear left and right in our schools in the city of Scottsdale. And right now we have 1,000 students mobilized, praying simply, God, in Saguaro as in heaven, in Chaparral as in heaven, at Desert Mountain as in heaven, in our homes, teams, and workplaces as in heaven. And tonight I invite you to join the teenagers of our city in praying in Scottsdale as in heaven. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done, on earth as in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For yours is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you being here tonight. And for the mayor's report, I'm going to go backward. Last night, 4 of my colleagues, we talked about Westworld at length, and I see everyone wearing Protect Westworld stickers, which I'm a big fan of, so this is timely. Last night, we talked a lot about Westworld and the concerns of stakeholders, and while my colleagues did not support, or at least all of them, a majority of them, did not support a stakeholders task force, our new city manager did commit to solve the majority suggested the new city manager work to resolve these infrastructure and operational issues, to which the city manager agreed. And in order to support that level of confidence with the Westworld stakeholders and Scottsdale residents, tonight I am asking the city manager to, within 5 days, provide the council and the public with your plan, including a timeline, milestones for fixing the infrastructure and operational issues, along with your deadline for a final report. And I know you have plans to meet with the stakeholders in the very near future, so I think this is probably well on its way. So I look forward to receiving Mr. Caton's plan. Thank you. As always is the case, this evening we may move into a possible executive session, and if the council makes a motion to recess into exec session, in order to obtain legal advice on any applicable item on the agenda, the council will hold that immediately and which will not be open to the general public, but the meeting would resume immediately following the executive session. Now is the time for first public comment announcement, and these comments, speakers are limited to speaking on non-agendized public comment, and we only have two this evening. That is Steve Sutton and Lynn Rubicam. So Steve, can you please approach the new podium over here to your right? Thank you.
Everybody hear me all right? Steve Sutton, address on record. Good evening, Mayor Borowski and council members. At the meeting last night, I informed you of John Blackenek's Sunday, June 1st, 2025 email to Councilmember Barry Graham, an email that initiated a series of over 30 emails in the next 6 days between Blackenek, Barry Graham, and city leaders in multiple offices. If all the email replies to John Blackenek were as wisely written as Assistant Police Chief Richard Slavin's, I probably would not be speaking to you tonight. When Councilman Barry Graham on Tuesday, June 17, 2025, falsely reported to police that I threatened him on social media, he attempted to reinforce the idea that I was a threatening person by telling the police about John Blackenek's absurd accusations against me. Graham also made other statements to the police I can easily prove are lies. Councilman Graham also lied to the council and residents of Scottsdale about trying to keep his contacting the police, quote, private, even though in less than a day he provided information about it for the posting of a libelous social media statement claiming that I was on some kind of police watch list. Barry Graham also attempted to get the Scottsdale police to intimidate me by violating my First Amendment rights. This is documented in a police department email dated Wednesday, June 18th, 2025. An attempt to violate my First Amendment rights is appalling. Far more appalling is what is written in a City of Scottsdale staff email dated Tuesday, June 3rd, 2025, just 2 days after John Blackenek's initial email to Councilman Barry Graham. That is a statement of intent to create a new policy that would violate the First Amendment rights of all Scottsdale residents and the rulings the Supreme Court has made to protect free speech rights. The City Council would be very foolish to enact this policy as it would result in a public relations disaster and multiple civil rights lawsuits from individuals in the American Civil Liberties Union. I asked the City Council and individual council members to take the following actions. Pledge to protect the First Amendment rights of all Scottsdale residents. Schedule park rangers to, at a minimum, walk through the 2 active cells of Chaparral Dog Park between 6 a.m. and 7 a.m. and 6 p.m. and 7 p.m. to promote safety and civility at the dog park. Make a statement of disapproval of Councilman Barry Graham's unethical behavior in twice causing many of the most highly paid city employees to be participants in an expensive taxpayer-financed wild goose chase looking for a means to retaliate against me. Please remember that Barry Graham never attacked me until I began opposing him on the parking garage at the parking corral.
Thank you. Next, Lynn Rubicam.
Thank you, Mayor Borowski and council members. I'm Lynn Rubicam, and my address is 9340 East Redfield Road in Scottsdale. I came to express my concern about the council's decision early this year to repeal the Community Sustainability Plan. I've been an advocate for environmental stewardship since junior high school when I started the Environment Club. I've had a career working for nonprofit organizations focused on science and natural resources. After moving to Scottsdale in 2016, I volunteered with Audubon, Arizona, became a master gardener, and was a consultant for the McDowell-Sonoran Conservancy. I appreciated having the chance to read the March 2025 memo prepared by the city manager at the council's request after the sustainability plan was repealed, and I applaud the efforts outlined, especially enforcement of the energy conservation and green construction building codes. Most recently, I have volunteered with Trees Matter, and I hope the city will complete the shade and tree plan described in the memo. Summer temperatures continue to break records, and we have far too many days when ozone and particulate matter levels are harmful for children and other sensitive groups. I am concerned about the human cost and economic impact on our community members who work outdoors and experience heat-related injury, health impacts of poor air quality, and decreased productivity. Extreme heat and air pollution are likely to begin to impact tourism as national media stories crown our neighbor Phoenix as the hottest major city in the U.S. I know my family members and friends are reluctant to visit. Finally, I am distressed at the harm done to our beloved swallows as they struggle to take in carbon dioxide on hot nights. To me, ensuring that everyone and everything has healthy air to breathe is a top measure of the quality of life in a community. The causes of extreme heat and poor air quality are regional and not easy to reverse, but the sustainability plan outlined goals and actions that would have improved these negative conditions. We look to the City Council for leadership and direction, and I feel the decision to repeal the plan sends the message that these environmental and economic issues are not taken seriously. The decision to cancel the sustainability director position amplifies this message. The annual reporting called for in the plan would have provided the public with an accessible way to know whether the community is benefiting from actions taken. I urge the council to reconsider its decision to repeal the plan. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And that concludes the public comment on non-agendized items. Moving now to the meeting minutes. Are there any revisions or questions on the meeting minutes? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve special meeting minutes of June 24th, 2025, and regular meeting minutes of June 24th, 2025.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor, please indicate your vote. Thank you very much. Consent agenda items. We have items 1 through 15. Do any of the council members have any questions or wish to pull any agenda items off the consent? If not, I will entertain a motion to approve consent agenda items 1 through 15.
So moved.
All those in favor, please indicate. Thank you. That passes unanimously. Item, cooking right along. Wow, look at us. Item 16, this is now the regular agenda, and item 16 is a request for a non-major general plan amendment to change the City of Scottsdale 2035 general plan land use designation from employment office to employment light industrial office, and to rezone a commercial district that allows a storage facility and office. Additionally, the applicant is requesting to abandon the general land office patent easements on the subject properties. This evening we have Meredith Tessier,
Yes.
senior planner with for staff, and she'll present at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Borowski and council members. Mayor Tessier here with the Planning Department. The case before you tonight is the Collector's Garages at Westworld, 4GP 2024, 5ZN 2024, and 8AB 2024. Please note this item is on the regular agenda because throughout this process, staff has received comments both in opposition and support, and that correspondence is within your action report tonight. So just wanted to bring that to your attention. So the subject site is located just west of the intersection of East McDowell Mountain Ranch Road and North Thompson Peak Parkway, as highlighted in yellow. The surrounding uses are single family to the north, and we have a vacant lot, a storage facility, and gas station to the east, and then we have Westworld to the west and south. So tonight, the applicant's requesting to rezone the site from single-family residential, environmental sensitive lands, planned community district, R135, PCD, ESL, to general commercial, environmental sensitive lands, planned community district, C4, PCD, ESL. Please note, we just want to bring to your attention that the C4 district does not allow bars, restaurants, or land use, or live entertainment, excuse me. But one could process a special event permit through that process. Additionally, the applicant is requesting a minor general plan amendment, which is going to go from employment office to employment light industrial office, all to accommodate a new storage facility. So here we have the applicant's site plan where access to the site is going to be provided with a new driveway right along here along McDowell Mountain Ranch Parkway. The site is comprised of 6 new buildings, 5 being new storage facilities, and then we have an office/clubhouse located more in the central location of the site. As part of this request, the applicant is going to be making dedications of natural area open space to conserve the Verde Canal located at that northeast portion of the site. Additionally, there's going to be some trail improvements in there to allow some pedestrian circulation. And then lastly, the applicant is going to be providing a desert buffer setback along that McDowell Mountain Ranch Parkway. So that concludes staff's presentation. I'll leave my presentation here on the action slide. The applicant has prepared a full presentation to give you a little bit more further detail on their application request tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Meredith. And for the applicant tonight, we have Jordan Rose, and welcome.
Mayor Borowski, Vice Mayor Dubakis, members of the council, thank you for the time tonight. I'm Jordan Rose with Rose Law Group, and with me tonight are the owners of the project, Jason Plotke, Kyle McGinley, Peyton Croutinier, and Paul Basha from Summit Land, who's the traffic engineer, Josh from LGE, and Jennifer Hall from my office as the planner. We have a lot of supporters here tonight, and we thank you for all being here. And I can put your most of the other people in the audience mind at rest to know that only 3 of them will speak. So we appreciate you all coming out and supporting Westworld in this project. I'll just do a very brief presentation and then take any questions that you might have. This is an extension, really, of Scottsdale at its best. This is car collectors. This is a point of pride. This is Westworld. It celebrates our collector car auction culture and allows for collectors to store their treasures right here near our great Barrett-Jackson auto auction. It makes it easier for out-of-state car collectors to keep their cars here and their assets in Scottsdale and to keep returning to all of our great amenities. And as you know, and as you've discussed at length, and even yesterday, Westworld is one of Scottsdale's greatest assets. You've had 2 public elections where the residents have voted to support Westworld, and the residents understand the significance of Westworld. $163.6 million in annual revenues, 1,813 jobs, and $85.6 million in labor revenue. It's just a wonderful place, and we don't build homes near airports, and we don't build homes potentially near our biggest economic driver, Westworld. These are some depictions of what the car collector experience will look like. It's very high-end, very sleek, very Scottsdale, very in keeping with the Barrett-Jackson. It's low profile. In fact, it's 15 feet shorter than what was previously proposed here. It's low traffic. It's a similar chip generation to what was proposed. It's just a little lower, actually, or what is approved already. And it's a 46 luxury car garage. These are privately owned. There is no liquor license attached to this. It is not open to the public. It's gated and secured. It's a very low profile use. And I think Meredith went through this, but I wanted to make sure that you all know this and the audience knows this, and as there's been some public comment that just was absolutely inaccurate. Restaurants are not permitted in C4, bars are not permitted in C4, adult entertainment not in C4, game centers not C4, and car washes require a conditional use permit approval. Amusement parks, they also require a conditional use approval, and these things are nothing that these owners are looking at. They're just things that were said in a letter, so we wanted to make sure. And then finally, stipulation number 1 tonight ties our use to this particular development plan with this particular narrative, and we we can't build anything else without coming back and talking to you and talking to the public about that. So the project is widely supported. The staff's recommending support. We thank you for that. The Planning Commission support, Barrett Jackson, Scottsdale Arabians, Scottsdale Quarter Horses, Arizona Bike Week, Cactus Raining Classic, Scottsdale Art Week, M Culinary, Notre Dame Prep High School, Paul Tracy, who you may have heard on NBC as a commentator, Casey Mears, the former NASCAR driver, Ari Lyondike, and these people all have special connections or live in Scottsdale. The GM, Scottsdale Ferrari, the Director of Marketing for Scottsdale Ferrari, the GM of Mercedes-Benz, Ross Brown, Commercial Real Estate, Mary Turner, thank you, and she's here from the Scottsdale Bond Campaign Manager. And then most importantly, potentially, is our across the street direct neighbor, Graythorne Homeowners Association. They also just sent you a letter, I think you all got in your packet today, in support, and we really thank them for this. I could go through a list of all of our residents' names, but we would be here for a very, very long time. So thank you to all of them and all of you today that are here. Protect Westworld, I would answer any questions, but thank you so much for your time and for any support you can give us.
Thank you, Jordan.
Thank you.
All right, we have several speakers on this item. First, I'll ask to come to the podium Mary Turner, followed by Benjamin Disbrow, Chandler Walker, Michael Ciuffelli, and Kent Cremelli.
Thank you, Mayor and members of council. My name is Mary Turner, address 5131 North Granite Reef Road. As a young professional living and working in South Scottsdale, I am proud of our great community and look forward to raising my family here. Scottsdale is a beautiful and unique place because its residents and councils in the past have invested in its future. We benefit today because of the good work and tough decisions previously made. As you are well aware, city sales tax revenue is the primary source of funding for our local government services, including support of our public safety, preserving our beautiful parks, and other critical community resources. Few generators of this revenue are as significant as the numerous events held at Westworld. In 2019, I had the honor of serving as campaign manager for the Scottsdale Bond Campaign, a major effort to invest in our city's future. This bond included enhancements to our parks, upgrades and expansions to our public safety stations, and support of our local economy and tourism efforts. A big part of that investment focused on significant improvements to Westworld. Scottsdale voters strongly backed these improvements, passing the bond by 38% margin. That's why it's so concerning to see proposals for more residential development near Westworld. It goes directly against what voters approved and undermines the significant investment taxpayers have already made in this key part of our city. Adding more residential development near Westworld brings a whole set of challenges, like more complaints about noise and smells, heavier traffic, and other headaches. The Collector's Garage project, on the other hand, avoids those issues and fits with how the area was always meant to be. It's a smart way to protect the city's major investment in Westworld without putting more homes right next to it, which would be counterproductive to the area. I proudly stand in support of the Collector's Garages project and urge you to do the same. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Benjamin Disbrow?
Hello, Benjamin Disbrow. I live at 4535 East Pershing Avenue, Phoenix, Arizona, 85032. I'm here on behalf of Notre Dame Prep, and I'm an alumni there. I graduated back in 2013. Matt Rielski couldn't be here today. He's the director of enrollment of Notre Dame, and he wanted to write a letter on behalf of the Car Garage. Dear Mayor Borowski and Scottsdale City Council members, the leadership of our Notre Dame preparatory community was recently made aware of a potential new construction project adjacent to Westworld and our NDP campus. In fact, one of the partners of the firm, Ross Brown Partners, spearheading this effort is a 2014 graduate of Notre Dame. We've taken the time to learn much about their endeavor and fully support this project and its impacts on this neighborhood and especially NDP. Like all schools, the safety of our students and their families is our most important concern. One of the primary drivers of how safe we keep our community is the traffic flow and the purposes of new ventures surrounding us. Any increase in congestion and early morning and afternoon at our start and release times causes great concern. The concept presented for us for the storage, especially luxury cars, is exponentially safer than other businesses, parking lots, or potentially more multifamily housing. In addition, we would be thrilled to be in proximity with leasers of this space and to get exposed to Notre Dame Prep. We believe the economic impact of this plan will benefit not only Westworld, but this neighborhood and Scottsdale as a whole. We strongly feel this project is consistent with the growth plan of Scottsdale's future. Thank you for your attention to this matter. We greatly value our relationship with the city of Scottsdale and would happily answer any questions you may have. Sincerely, Matt Rielski.
Thank you very much. We appreciate you reading that for us. And next we have Chandler Walker.
Good evening. I'm Chandler Walker from United Scottsdale Firefighters Association, P.O. Box 14953, Scottsdale, Arizona. Dear Mayor Borowski and Scottsdale City Council, as you may know, city sales tax revenue is the largest source of funding for local government, including our parks, public safety, and many other qualities of life issues. There are few bigger generators of these sales tax dollars than all the events at Westworld. The city's own economic impact reports show the annual impact to be massive. We have consistently supported projects that uses the responsibility to augment tax revenues. The Collector's Garage at Westworld is such a project. More residential development near and adjacent to Westworld makes no policy sense, as it will just add to complaints and difficulty within operations. The Collector's projects avoids this. You will also recall that Scottsdale voters approved improvements to Westworld during a bond campaign in 2019, last year via Proposition 490. We helped lead in those efforts. More residential development near Westworld infringes on those voters' improved measures that were approved by suspenseful margins. There are many housing projects in Scottsdale. There are not many Westworlds. It sits uniquely in our hearts in the city to generate critical revenues with the help of the entire community. We stand with all major users at Westworld in support of the application, and we hope you do too. Your Scottsdale firefighters.
Thank you very much, Chandler. Michael Chuili. Got some challenging names.
Close.
Close? How is
Michael
it said?
Cooley.
Chuili.
Doesn't sound like it's spelled, so that's for sure.
All right.
I'm Michael Cooley. I'm representing some stakeholders at Westworld today. Thank you, Mayor and Council. This letter shall serve as one strongly supporting a proposed rezoning of property along Westworld's eastern boundary on McDowell Mountain Road for a new project known as the Collector's Garages at Westworld. Over the years, we've rallied together to oppose more residential development near Westworld, an incredible asset that the city's own economic impact report, released just months ago, revealed hundreds of millions in annual tax revenue and benefits. Just as residential isn't conducive next to airports, it's not for economic drivers like Westworld. Nevertheless, developers in the past have suggested various uses along McDowell Mountain Ranch Road, such as apartments and senior living, which we're grateful previous city leaders have denied. Indeed, these uses were proposed for the exact parcel we write you now. As you may know, McDowell Mountain Ranch Road is an important alternate entry into Westworld. As the major users of Westworld that have collectively spent tens of millions of dollars to help drive Scottsdale tourism, we hope you too will support the policy of non-residential uses near one of the city's key areas of commerce. The more residential there is near Westworld, the more complaints there are about noise, traffic, and in the case of equestrian events, odor. We have evidence of that as the result of one of the city's regrettable zoning decisions years ago, allowing an apartment development at the northern tip of Westworld on Bell Road. Why would it want to repeat such mistakes in the future? If you want Westworld to be all it can be and should be, why handicap those responsible for doing so with a self-fulfilling complaint funnel? The benefits of this policy approach have already been realized. For example, a parcel on McDowell Mountain Ranch Road was approved for storage facility several years ago. Such a place will obviously not be full of residents who may complain. It also generates little traffic, just as this application would. This kind of non-residential use is why we currently support the application for the collector garages at Westworld. Designed for high-end car storage, it is the perfect complement to Westworld, as well as a low-volume use for the homes in the area. Indeed, it reinforces the notion of appropriate horsepower near Westworld with a quiet use, which is why the largest HOA in the area supports the application as well. Additionally, the applicant has agreed to deed restrict the property to prevent the car sales of any kind on site. And as you are aware, Scottsdale voters overwhelmingly approved improvements to Westworld during a bond campaign in 2019, and last year via Proposition 490. As many of us were involved in those efforts because of our passions for and the importance of Westworld. Jeopardizing these votes and taxpayer dollars with apartments or other types of residential would be a disservice. There are many residential developments in Scottsdale, and there's only one Westworld. As always, we appreciate your consideration of our opinion, as well as the support for horsepower we bring to Scottsdale tourism. Sincerely, Melissa Shales, Scottsdale Arabian Horse Show, Doug Holes, Scottsdale Quarter Horse Show, Craig Jackson, Barrett Jackson Collector, Car Auctions, Lisa Sear, Arizona Bike Week, Amanda Brumley, Cactus Raining Classic, Trey Brennan, Scottsdale Art Week, Brandon Maxwell, M Culinary Concepts. Thank you, Council.
Thank you so much, Michael. Appreciate that. Kent Caramelli. That's our last speaker on this one.
Thank you, Council. I'd actually like to yield back my time. My comments in support of the project have already been mentioned. Thank you so much.
Thank you for that. Appreciate it. All right. Vice Mayor DeBasquez has some questions.
I was going to comment. Were we ready for comment? Okay, great. Thank you so much for this project. I am the only council member who lives in the area. 3 of our children have attended Notre Dame Preparatory, and 2 of them will be attending in the future. With the collector car as well as the toy barn going in on the north side of Bell, we are seeing some garages go in. My hope is that what that means is we will have more cars purchased in Arizona, so that we'll be able to keep those sales tax dollars in Arizona if they're bought at Barrett Jackson or other events. Would love to see that revenue staying here in Scottsdale. So I'm in support of this project. I think it'll be great for the area. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't see any other comments or questions. Anyone would like to make a motion?
Certainly, I will motion that we accept the collector car garage at Westworld. It's Resolution 13464. Is it not? Yes?
I'll second that. And actually, I live a couple miles from there and bike through all the time, and it's gotten a lot busier over the last 6 years, and that's great.
I just have one comment. I think this is the same owner or group that does Apex down in the Southeast Valley, Maricopa, I think it is. And I've been there, very impressive, got the tour. I know it's not as big of a campus, but I suspect you're gonna do an equally great facility, if not greater, it looks like, from those pictures. So very nice. Appreciate you coming to Scottsdale and doing business here. And with that, I will.
I think Luis has a question.
Oh, do we need to bone up on that motion? Is there?
Honorable Mayor and members of the council, there's 3 total resolutions and an ordinance, so it'd be helpful if on the motion we were very clear that we're adopting all 3 resolutions and the ordinance.
There's 4. Yes, I will amend that to include all 3 of those, which are, I believe that includes 13465, 13466, and 13464. Is that all of them?
And
Ordinance.
And 4683.
Ordinance, okay. I'll second that.
All right, I don't see any other requests to speak, so all those in favor, please indicate. That passes unanimously. Congratulations and welcome to Scottsdale. All right, we're going to move on to item 17. Item 17.
Might wait a minute.
Yeah. I know you guys are excited. Happy hours across the street. I wonder. All right. Okay, item 17 is consideration of a request to allow an existing office building. Can we have you guys exit quietly, please? Not that we don't want you here. All right, item 17 is consideration of a request to allow an existing office building located at 10001 North 92nd Street to convert into internalized community storage facilities with accessory vehicle storage in the existing above-grade parking structure and to develop new warehousing units on the parking area of the Catalyst site. There are multiple options for council consideration that will be discussed by staff, and I see Meredith back up there, as well as Taylor Reynolds, principal planner, who will provide the staff presentation. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mayor, members of council. I'm Taylor Reynolds. I'm a principal planner with Long Range Planning. With this request tonight, I'm going to walk you through more of the citywide implications and how it relates back to the general plan. After my part of the presentation, I'll hand it off to Meredith Tessier, Senior Planner with Current Planning, to walk you through the Catalyst site. In terms of zoning code text amendments, in terms of how they're administered through our zoning ordinance, we actually have section 1.301, which permits Planning Commission, City Council, as well as property owners of properties within the district to be amended to initiate a text amendment. So that's why we have this private application this evening. When we review them from a citywide standpoint, we look at how they perhaps implement or comply with the general plan, address citywide land use concerns, or perhaps provide new land uses that may be lacking within the city. How are they compatible with adjacent development? And further, we look at that they are not tailored to accommodate a single site or development, which would be closer to a rezoning application, but that the zoning ordinance is intended to be uniform and to be applicable citywide, so no really arbitrary standards. The action requested tonight is to amend the zoning ordinance land use table to allow for internalized community storage facilities, vehicular storage, and warehousing, all as permitted uses within the city's commercial office or CO zoning district. There is a Catalyst site, although this would apply citywide. The Catalyst site is located at 10,001 North 92nd Street. There's been a lot of discussion since this application came forward about what's the difference between some of these requested land uses. So this slide is to indicate some of the differences between internalized community storage, or some might think of it as self-storage, warehouse, and mini warehousing. In terms of internalized storage, these are accessed internal to the building and may not include outdoor storage, and they have the potential for adaptive reuse, as we'll see on a later slide. Warehousing, which is typically the storage of goods of any type, and could be bulk storage, more of an industrial form, and have exterior access. Now, the applicant is stating that their request is more similar to mini warehousing, which is not defined by our zoning ordinance, but is interpreted as being part of warehousing itself. Again, exterior access, some of those roll-up door type storage units. In terms of the CO district's purpose, it is intended to provide an environment desirable for the development of office and related uses, and to promote compatibility with residential uses. When we review it from a citywide standpoint, it's typically adjacent to or abuts our residential areas, so it's intended to be compatible with areas. They're more residential in nature. Think of those smaller medical offices that you see throughout the community. On the right-hand side of the screen, you can see where all those are located through, all the CO zoning districts are located throughout our community. In terms of this requested, the timeline of this request, It was initially seen by Planning Commission in May of this year. It did have more limited application at that time. Only around 8 locations citywide would have been applicable to. It lacked standards to protect adjacent residential uses. At that time, staff's recommendation to Planning Commission was for a denial. In discussion with the applicant and Planning Commission, the applicant requested a continuance. It was granted by the Planning Commission in that they preferred them to work with staff to revise the application to have more broad application. So that application was updated to be more broad in its application and then focused more on the adaptive reuse of existing commercial office buildings. So from the outside would look like a commercial office building, but on the inside be that internalized community storage. It also would include standards for residential adjacency. Then finally, that updated revised application came before Planning Commission in July. At that time, applicant included warehousing as a use. It was recommended by staff to exclude warehousing, which we'll get to on a later slide as to why we recommended to exclude it as an allowable use. Planning Commission recommended approval of staff's draft of the text amendment. This slide indicates the differences between the applicant's draft and the staff/Planning Commission recommended draft. They both would allow for the conversion of existing internalized community storage. Both would allow for existing parking to be converted to vehicular storage, and both would include site criteria to ensure there was compatibility between the new use and those adjacent residential properties. However, the difference there being the applicant wanted to include new warehousing where you'd have those externally built and accessed drive-up, roll-up units, and staff's draft excluded warehousing as an allowable use. So the citywide implication there is the commercial office district for which they are wishing to amend is typically low-impact daytime use. They serve as that transitional buffer between our residential areas and our more intense commercial areas, and they're designed for that compatibility with nearby homes. When we look citywide at where warehousing is permitted, it's permitted in a variety of districts, as you can see there, C3, C4, I1, and IG. These are typically our areas of more intense day and night activity. They're not typically adjacent to residential neighborhoods, most of which are located within our air park area, and they're designed to be more compatible with other employment opportunities. This slide notes some of the uses that the applicant is requesting citywide. So those areas that are notated in black on the right side of the screen, I know they might be kind of small from a distance, they indicate all the areas of the city that today permit internalized storage. And you can see C1 through C4, I1, PNC, and PCC. The warehouse use, again, are more intense districts, C3, C4, I1, and IG, and are indicated on the right-hand side of the screen in green. Warehouse, when we look at it from a general plan standpoint, is typically implemented within our employment light industrial office land use category, whereas the CO district the applicant is intending to amend is typically implemented within our employment office land use category. It's a lot of text on the screen, and I apologize for that, but just to note, these are the definitions within our general plan for both the office land use category at a general plan land use standpoint, for which the CO office district is typically implemented in, and then our more intense light industrial office land use category. So the office land use category is more residential in scale and character, allows for a variety of office uses, minimizes impacts on adjacent neighborhoods, and then the difference there is when you look at the light industrial office land use category, it has more specific text, not just more generalized about offices, but it can permit light manufacturing, warehousing, light industrial, and heavy commercial type activities. So it's very specific in what uses should be implemented there, and that it could accommodate truck traffic. So in review of the applicant's submittal compared to it being implemented citywide, the CO zoning district compared to the office land use category, there's somewhat of a misalignment there. In terms of how an alignment could be made would be there's a route for the applicant to amend the general plan to change the definition of the office land use category to then specifically state warehousing as an implementing use. However, when we look at our general plan criteria for for amending the general plan, criteria number 5, change to the amendment criteria and/or land use category definitions criteria is clear here in that a text change to a land use category definition that changes the use, density, or intensity would be a major amendment, which hasn't been submitted by the applicant commensurate with their text amendment. And we have options at the end of this slide deck to go through, but in terms of that being an option to move forward, there is an option for the applicant to do that when we look at that part of the deck. With that, I'll hand it off to Meredith Tessier, specific to the Catalyst site.
Thank you, Taylor.
Okay, so for the next segment of this presentation, I'm just going to walk you a little bit through the Catalyst site, which is located there at the northeast corner of 92nd Street in East Mountain View, as highlighted in red. The site is zoned commercial office, so that supports uses such as retail and office. The surrounding uses include medical office to the west and north and northwest portion of the site, and then we do have place of worship to the east, and then some multifamily to the southeast, and then some additional medical office there at the southwest portion of the site. And just a reminder that this is the Catalyst site, that this application will pertain to all 683 of those CO zoned parcels. So it is a citywide text amendment. So here we have the applicant's site plan, where the existing building A is a 2-story office that would be converted to an internalized community storage facility. Then we have the garage that's 2-story. That would be converted to vehicle storage. And then what you see in the red highlight would be the new mini warehouses with that roll-up door concept. So that would be along the perimeter of the site. So staff sees that these new warehouses are inconsistent with the intent of adaptive reuse. Warehouse is not consistent with the general plan land use category definition. And lastly, a citywide issue that warehousing adjacent to residential use is out of character for the general plan land use category of employment office. So the applicant has identified a site within the city of Phoenix that's zoned industrial and not adjacent to any residential districts. It's just right along I-17. That left image was an office that was converted to internalized community storage facility, and then that right image are your new mini warehouses with that roll-up door concept. As you can see, that entire site is going to be enclosed with some security fencing, and therefore we see that this type of construction is more conducive to an industrial type development district. So of the 683 CO zoned parcels, staff has identified 2 parcels that we just want to walk you through. The first one here is located at the southeast corner of Royal Palms and Hayden Road. We have the existing office that would be converted to an internalized community storage facility with the potential of the new mini warehouses along Royal Palms, just right adjacent to those residences to the north. Once again, we see these warehouses are inconsistent with the intent of the adaptive reuse. It's also inconsistent with the general plan land use category definition, and warehouse is also not consistent with the intent of the commercial office zoning district, which is again more so focused on office and retail type uses. Here's the second site that we've identified, where once again you have those existing offices that would be converted to internalized community storage facilities, and then the potential of those mini warehouses all along the right-hand side of the site, adjacent to all those residences to the east. So again, we see that this is inconsistent with the intent of adaptive reuse, because after all, it's going to be new construction. Warehouse is not consistent with the general plan land use category definition. And lastly, again, not consistent with the intent of the commercial office zoning district. So I'll conclude my presentation with the option side for City Council. So option 1 is, if the applicant agrees, approve as recommended by city staff and by Planning Commission's recommendation 2 of the 3. So that would include internalized community storage facility and vehicle storage. However, exclude the warehousing part of it, because we see that that is in line and consistent with the general plan. Option 2 is the applicant's draft That includes 3 of the 3. So that's the internalized community storage facility, the vehicle storage, and the warehouse. And we see that is inconsistent with the general plan. Option 3 would be to continue the case to allow the applicant opportunity to file a major general plan amendment to update the land use element definition to include warehouses. And then lastly is just deny the actions tonight. So that concludes staff's presentation. I have prepared some follow-up slides just once we kind of get to that point of where we're going to arrive tonight to just give you guidance once we get there. The applicant has prepared a full presentation to walk you through the text amendment and that language within that legislative draft. Thank you.
Thank you, Meredith. And we'll turn to the applicant representative now, and that is Carolyn Oberholzer.
So just a reminder to use the arrows to advance forward.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Vice Mayor, and council members. For your records, my name is Carolyn Oberholzer. I'm a land use attorney with the firm of Bergen Frakes, Smalley, and Oberholzer at 4343 East Camelback in Phoenix. But I am also a Scottsdale resident, and for the past 20 years, I have resided at 9788 East Topaz Drive in walking distance from the Catalyst site. And I was going to give you a presentation. I do have a number of slides. Staff did an excellent and robust job of presenting pretty much everything to you. So I think I will just give you guys a few brief comments, and then of course we can dive in to the presentation to address any questions. But our application has been on file with the city since December of last year. We've worked collaboratively with staff the whole time. We've gone through at least 3 submittals of the text, and that is before arriving at the May 28th Planning Commission hearing. We've had no real opposition to this. We have support letters on the case, and it wasn't until a few weeks after the Planning Commission meeting on June 9th that we got word from staff that they thought a major general plan amendment would be required to keep the mini warehouse component of our application in it. And it had been there the whole time. So I submit to you that option 2 this evening does not require a general plan amendment. As staff explained, we are adding meanings to words that aren't what wasn't the intent. In the general plan, when it talks about warehouse, it was not talking about mini storage. And we can call mini storage mini warehouse, but just because we call it that doesn't make it warehouse for the purposes of the general plan. And I would think that through all of that staff review and in the staff report, if there was a major general plan amendment that was a requirement for that to be included, that would have been something that came up a lot earlier. So I think that this is just a way to look at warehouse that does not fit. The mini warehouse component are individual drive-ups for if you have an armoire or your holiday decorations that you want to just come in and store for your own personal use. This is not a one business warehouse use. So that is, I think, really the focus of my comments tonight is on option 2. And I just wanted to, reiterate that this building is also, it's 115,000 square feet. It has been 100% vacant for 4 years. And I know that because I drive by it all the time. And it is empty all the time. And wasn't always that way. There was a lot of traffic that came in and out of that. And there always is in these medical offices, especially when the snowbirds return. So when this office building has been vacant, there has been a definite difference in traffic, and it is reduced. And so in listening to the community over the years and watching the cases that during the same time, this 4-year period with this office sat vacant, you guys had a lot of cases and the previous council come before you with apartment proposals and other redevelopment proposals. And I heard my neighbors say, we don't want traffic and we don't want apartments. So I thought when this case came to me, no traffic, no apartments. This reduces trips per day by 4,700 trips of storage. You just had the case before you that's also a storage version. Again, storage uses, they don't come with a lot of activity, and as a result, they don't come with a lot of traffic. So I know that a lot of you ran on campaigns that were anti-apartment, anti-traffic, so this conversion will enable those promises to come to fruition. The apartment protection is also provided against apartments, because by adding this use to office, you're giving these owners an opportunity to have an economically viable use for a building that does not have an economically viable use today. And one of the components for converting this in the district is to prove to the satisfaction of staff that the building is functionally or economically obsolete as of the date of the application. So there is a layer of protection to ensure that there is a review of this site being proper for the conversion based on lack of activity there. So I would just conclude by saying that we are open to suggestions. We appreciate the work with staff, but we do not believe a general plan amendment is required. And for that reason, we reiterate our request for the council to consider option 2, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. We're going to go ahead and take a couple of speakers here on this item. And first I'll hear from Michael Ann Joyner, followed by Michael Schaefer.
I'm Michael Joyner. My address is on record. Mayor, Vice Mayor, City Council, thank you for the opportunity to speak. The attorney for the applicant is amazing. She has done a great job of presenting. I do want to point out that it did pass planning by a 5-2 vote, and the 2 no votes are sitting in the audience today. I was one of those. I'm here to speak against this text amendment. I am greatly in favor of this application. This is a perfect use for the application that they came in with. They did all the right things. They went to the neighbors, they went to the surrounding businesses, they got buy-in from it, and that's the way it should be. I am not in favor of the text amendment. This would eliminate neighborhood input and possible concerns from adjoining businesses having the opportunity to speak. And I know that many businesses, when they select a place to rent or lease, they look at the surrounding area. The text amendment would completely eliminate the planning aspect of a zoning change. I asked staff how many possible applications this could affect in Scottsdale. The original comment I got was somewhere in the 300 range, and now I know your application is, I think, 687 properties. That's 687 changes that citizens would not have a buy-in on. I know that an application under this case would still go to DRB, who I think are amazing and they do a great job, but DRB looks at how something looks, not whether it should be there or not. This process eliminates the opportunity for the surrounding area or businesses to have any input, and I know that many of you ran on a Neighbor First agenda, and I hope you will vote no for the text amendment. I love the application for this property, just not the text amendment. Thank you.
Thank you. Michael Schaefer.
Mayor, City Council, thank you for being who you are, for hearing me tonight and the people of Scottsdale. I've lived in Scottsdale since 1982. I'm a business owner and I own commercial buildings as well. I've come to City Council from time to time when I'm concerned about Scottsdale and speak at these meetings to share my view and my neighbor's view on important topics. I'm opposed to changing any zoning to initiate this storage request. I'd ask you to deny it. It's been a long time since the city has listened to the citizens of Scottsdale. We thank God you were elected, and we are regularly aligned with the views of the people of Scottsdale. We see you all as protecting our city, protecting it. Thank you for keeping Scottsdale, Scottsdale. I live 1.7 miles from that facility, that proposed facility. I did some math. I believe the building is about 120,000 square feet. With storage units of 10 by 10 indoors, that would be about 1,200 units. There are 600 parking spaces, a possible 1,800 tenants. I wonder how that impacts the traffic on the streets. That's a beautiful building, And I wonder what it will look like after there's a security fence that's going to have to wrap it to protect 600 automobiles parked on the facility. And if any of those, I expect, are older, to me it appears to be a fire hazard, not only for the building but the surrounding areas. This building can be used for a few things. Unfortunately, storage is not one of them, per our zoning rules. If we don't oppose this, it will change our zoning to allow this building to be a beachhead and to turn many Scottsdale office buildings into storage units. I used to have an office right next to the gate of a storage facility. It had a gate with a code, next to no supervision. It probably had some cameras. I doubt that anyone ever looked at these cameras. I saw people drive in and out with their boxes. No one ever checked what was in the boxes. There are proven concerns on storage facilities which reveals a dark side. Whether it's open 24 hours or not, they are very easy to misuse. You come through a coded gate, enter the door, maybe at night, with a car or truck with who knows what's in the box. With an increase in gangs, illegal aliens, the cartel, crime, these facilities are easy places to store stolen or illegal items, drugs, biohazardous materials, maybe even trafficked people. There appear to be three options, all of which lead to the same objective: put a storage unit where it doesn't belong. I and the people of Scottsdale don't want our zoning changed. I asked for 3 no's on this to deny this tonight. I'd propose that the building be sold to an entity that meets the code. The owners can take that money and could then go out and buy an existing storage facility or a building where the zoning is proper to accommodate the storage facility, if that's the business they want to be in. I ask you to deny all 3 requests. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. And that concludes public comment on item 17. And do you want to respond to any of the comments? I'll invite you up to do that. Staff as well.
Mayor and Council, I do appreciate that opportunity to speak. May I have the presentation back up? I think some visuals will be helpful to address some of the responses. Regarding the option for this district, so the CO district, the reason why we're proposing a text amendment, which is not my ideal scenario, is because the CO district permits very few uses other than office. There are 7 other districts in the city right now that permit both internalized community storage and office. And office is permitted in just about every non-residential district in the city. So this is the struggle for the commercial office property owners, is that the only unique uses to this category are an animal hospital and a diagnostics medical laboratory. So offices can go anywhere, and internalized community storage can go a lot of places. So we desperately tried to not process a text amendment, but we did not want to rezone to I-1 in this location, because that would require a general plan amendment, and that would be an issue as well for the community, and it would involve traffic and all of the things that we're trying to avoid with this. On the topic of crime, these are just some recent pictures, reports to Scottsdale PD of recent break-ins. One time somebody came in, they broke in, and they unleashed all 100 fire extinguishers that were in the building. Vacant office buildings are a blight to the community, and it is important to reoccupy them. So the reason that we're struggling to find this new identity, again, is the pervasive vacancies, but then also the lack of additional uses that we have. To the question about, what it's going to be from the outside, the city has very significant regulations in place enforced by DRB that ensure the proper design for facilities. So any mini warehouse addition, which again are just individual garage units, have to be architecturally integrated, and those also provide a securing feature. So with that, this is the language on the slide that is in particular to the mini warehouse that is only permitted as an accessory use. And there are many restrictions on it that limit the percentage of the use, that limit the building height to 12 feet for these uses. And so there are protections in place to ensure that compatibility. And then finally, again, on the traffic, I do have the traffic study report here done by Summit, which confirms the significant reduction in trips to address the gentleman's comment. And then We do have the support of the McCormick Ranch Property Owners Association. They have voted to approve this application, as well as a number of emails sent by area residents supporting this. So with that, I'm happy to address any follow-up questions.
Great, thank you very much. There are already some requests to speak. Councilman Graham.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to acknowledge the applicants seeking more options for the viability for the property and, looking to make that as most economically sustainable for their interest. So I want to acknowledge that. I do have a few questions for Ms. Tessier. Are you taking our questions, Ms. Tessier? Or Taylor? Or just like jump ball, whoever wants it?
Certainly,
Yeah.
Councilman Graham.
That's fine.
We're here and available for.
So option one, we kind of have 3 or 4 options here. If we did option one, that would allow internalized community storage, no warehouse at this location.
That's correct.
Okay. And then option two would be would that be to approve or to initiate a text amendment?
Option 2 would be approving the applicant's draft, which includes 3 of 3, so internalized community storage facility, warehouse, and vehicle storage.
Okay, because they want warehousing there.
Correct.
And the applicant is arguing that their use of warehouse, their use of warehouse is not our definition of warehouse. To that I would just respectfully say that our definitions are strict on purpose. We kind of want to make sure what goes there. That's our general plan. That's our residents' vision for their community. I think about the people that live in this area. I think it was mentioned that when companies set up here, there's schools in the area. There are many businesses in the area. There's many multifamily housing and single-family housing in the area. And I think about that, and then you think about either changing this or initiating and approving in a text amendment. So I don't support internalized storage at this location. I don't support a text amendment. And you said that was how many properties across the city that might affect, that ricochet to?
Councilman Graham, that's 683 parcels.
Those are kind of some of my initial reactions, and so I'm considering here making a motion, but maybe I'll let my colleagues speak. But my inclination right now, I'll make a motion here just to deny the application. Can I keep it that simple, Mr. Parliamentarian?
Yes, sir, you may.
Okay. Thank you.
Second. Councilwoman Whitehead.
Yeah, I have a question for staff. So obviously, text amendments affect a lot of properties, and that's not the path Scottsdale likes to go generally. Would there not be a zoning case that this applicant could go take that path to narrow down, to expand what is currently allowed, but narrow down to something that might be more amenable to our general population?
Thank you, Mayor Borowski and Councilman Whitehead. There is an option for them to process a zoning case. It's just a matter of identifying the appropriate zoning district that would accommodate all 3 of those uses, and those would be C3, C4, or I1. So we would just need to explore those zoning districts and see what's the most suitable for that area and the neighbors that surround it.
And then at the same time, there could be stipulations. So I recognize the concern about not wanting to ask this council for I. We're not looking for I, but I would suggest a different zoning classification with some stipulations would be the easiest path. And I'm not going to support a text amendment. I'm sorry.
I don't see any other speakers, but I have a bunch of questions, actually. Were you on there? Yeah, I think I was late. Oh, it's okay. Go ahead. Why don't you go ahead? Councilwoman Littlefield.
Yeah, a general plan text amendment like this is very different than when you're looking at one piece of property. Then you're only dealing with that one location. This has 683 locations throughout Scottsdale. And I see very little protection for those other 682 locations. I agree with Councilman Graham and Councilwoman Whitehead to what they said, and I can't approve this tonight as it stands. It's way too open. There's little protection for the people who live near the other locations, and I think it needs to go back to staff, work with it, see if we can come up with something that's better for everyone. And this is warehousing all over the city, basically, and I can't do that without checking every single one of those locations to see who's going to be affected by it, and that's not a possibility at this point. So, thank you.
Thank you. So I'm going to direct these questions primarily to staff. I've met with the applicant a couple of times, and I have met with Aaron, zoning administrator. Do I have that title right? Yes. And so I'm trying to piece together the story. It seems like they came in, I just heard for the first time out of all the conversations that the applicant came in without the roll-up external units the first time through Planning Commission, is that right?
Mayor Borowski, members of City Council, it was part of their initial request.
It was to Planning Commission.
Correct.
And there were only two people, and they're both here tonight on Planning Commission, that rejected that because of the roll-up storage? No. Just generally?
Text amendment. Because
because of the text amendment. So that was in place the first time when it came through Planning Commission? I'm asking staff, actually.
That's correct, Mayor Borowski.
So, basic question, would staff be supporting this project with the roll-up units if it wasn't for the text amendment that affects an additional 630-some properties? I thought from my conversation with both applicant and Aaron, and I'm not going to put you on the spot, Aaron, because I could be recalling this improperly, that would be a good location for this.
Mayor Borowski, members of City Council, that would be a separate process, so we'd be looking at a re-entitlement process, which wasn't applied for by the applicant, a separate review process. So we were reviewing from a citywide, although there's a catalyst site, and we do review it from that to a degree. That sort of request would be specific to this site and would have its own review. So we didn't review it from that standpoint, but from a citywide standpoint.
So when they went out for public outreach to the neighbors, the roll-up garages was part of that package?
Mayor Borowski, yes.
Okay, and did they get support from the neighborhoods? I guess this might be a Carolyn question. You want to talk to us about that just for a few minutes? Was there any opposition in the neighborhood to the project as proposed tonight?
Mayor and council, no. As I mentioned, the application was originally filed in December. We had 2 neighborhood meetings. The Catalyst site, the current site plan, was presented at those meetings. Only one member of the public attended one of the meetings. None attended the other. The development design did change, though, in collaboration with staff. We reduced the number of exterior units in order to introduce landscaping breaks. So the project got less intense as we got further into the review process. We also submitted a development review application at risk, which included the full design of the project, architecturally integrated mini storage buildings, in order to also submit to the McCormick Ranch Property Owners Association. So they have seen this design in both the Catalyst property as well as the text amendment. And when we did that, we sent out additional notifications to the area. To that, there were several requests for more information from people. I believe there was one person that said that they did not want any storage there at all. And then I had on the screen a handful, more than 10, I believe, emails that were received from area residents that were in support. So nobody ever showed up to 2 planning commission hearings. I mean, as I said, we had one person show up to one of the neighborhood meetings, and they were in support. They had no issues with this. I've talked to my neighbors about this extensively. Again, I live in walking distance of this and have for 20 years.
Okay,
So
okay.
no opposition, known.
So
except for here.
I'm trying to figure out at what point did staff suggest the text or require the text amendment? It sounds like the project went through the process for a good portion of time, and then staff required a text amendment. So talk to me about that. Clear that up for me.
Yes, by email on June 9th, I received an email from staff that said if we wanted to proceed with the current application, that we would need to consider a major amendment to the general plan. So we went back and forth a bit on that, and their recommendation on that topic stays. It's the discussion tonight. And again, it just centers around the use of the word warehouse in the one category, and the entire ordinance except for parking being silent on mini warehouse. So June 9th is the day.
And when was Planning Commission?
May 28th.
So it had already gone through Planning Commission.
And then was continued to the July hearing.
Okay,
so
as a
it was in
result.
between,
Gotcha.
correct.
There
It
we
was
go.
in between that continuance period that came up.
So adaptive reuse, this has also come up a couple of times in conversation. This is for staff. Is this building eligible for the new state law that would allow for multifamily apartments to go in here?
Mayor Borowski, members of the City Council, Tim Curtis with the Planning Department. Just wanted to first, if I could expand on some of the history in terms of the options that the applicant had during the original pre-app many months ago. Certainly, the proposal brought some consternation with staff regarding the citywide text amendment, as well as zoning for the individual parcel. Each of those processes have challenges to them. We talked about both of those options. This applicant chose to pursue a citywide text amendment, and then months and months have gone by through the process, working together, getting to the Planning Commission, their recommendation for continuance to continue working, and then to get to the point that we're at today. In terms of the Planning Commission recommendation for approval, as you could see, it was basically excluding the warehousing component, but even that wasn't a unanimous opinion regarding that. The adapted reuse, I believe this is in a location that might be excluded from eligibility, and just getting that confirmation from some colleagues based off of the location and the traffic pattern airspace of the airport as an exclusion. So again, with the Planning Commission, had some interest in some adaptive reuse of just the existing buildings, and that's where the recommendation landed for you tonight. Hope that answers that.
It kind of, because we don't know if it's the adaptive reuse. I know we've marked up an area that would be excluded from that law, but it certainly hasn't been, tested, I guess is the word I'm looking for. But it is within the description, it sounds like.
That's correct.
Okay, that's what I was asking. So that's a concern of mine. Carolyn, I have one other question for you. The security fencing that was displayed by a picture earlier, is that a picture accurate? Does that depict what you'll be doing, your clients will be doing out there?
Mayor and council, the requirements for that site in Phoenix were in an industrial area, and so that particular application of that architecture was contextual. Yeah. That would certainly not be the case here. The renderings, we do have the ones that were submitted with our DRB package. They're brick. A brick masonry wall would be the perimeter that would be created behind the landscaping along Mountain View and along a small portion of 92nd Street to create that gated access. But again, the parking structure, there are pictures in the presentation. It's all brick. It's all contextual to that existing architecture. So that wall would match that architecture. It would not be a fence.
Okay. And my last question for staff, is there any way to get to do what they would like to do? Because this property owner, this building owner has owned it for quite some time. Is that right?
Mayor Borowski, members of the council, yeah, as far as I understand, in terms of the various options, the text amendment, as recommended by the Planning Commission with staff, would allow the reuse of the building for internalized community storage, and the reuse of the existing parking garage for vehicle storage. So 2 out of 3, to answer your question, would be yes, but they also wanted the exterior warehousing, so that would be no. Without this text amendment, and as we talked about, perhaps the general plan amendment, if they were to pursue a rezoning case, as we talked, just for this specific site, that would have to begin a whole new public outreach and application process. It's a little premature to opine on that without knowing which district that they wanted to do, how that outreach occurred, what would be the other land uses that would be allowed in that zoning. So there's a lot of involvement and review of an application that hasn't been submitted yet.
Okay, well, for a property owner, this seems like the storage seems like a good use for this location. I'm very familiar with it too. I don't like the fact that the text amendment applies to all these other properties. I feel like there's a way to, work with this applicant to get this done the way they have it planned without doing that, but I'm not in your shoes. I guess the answer is no, not right now. So I'd like to make an alternate motion to approve it with number one, number one alternative, that was staff's recommendation, without the external perimeter storage units. Anyone want to second that?
I'll second that.
Councilman Graham.
Thank you, Mayor. So an alternate motion is on the floor to, can we get clarity on the alternate motion?
The staff presentation had on there number one, which was the staff's recommendation without the perimeter storage warehouse, is the technical term you've used.
It's still a text amendment.
What is staff recommending? Can you put that slide back up? Pardon me. So alternate motion to adopt option one, which is ordinance number 4688 and number 13482. Second?
Oh, well, so just so we're clear, so the motion was made to approve an internalized community storage text amendment citywide. Is that correct? So the motion on the floor would affect almost 700 properties across the entire city. I think that is incredibly dangerous for our city. The motion on the floor would do that, and there's been a second for it. The other option, option two, would allow internalized storage at this site. Is that correct, Ms. Tessier?
Okay, so I want to go with internalized storage that does not negatively impact the 632 other properties.
It's not an option.
Not an option, Madam Mayor. So, okay, I think I still have the floor, so Mr. Curtis, can you answer that question about option two? Does that allow internalized storage here?
So, Madam Mayor, Councilman Graham, so option two is the applicant's proposal, which would be a citywide text amendment that allows all three
Okay,
on all those properties.
So earlier I was saying option one allows internalized community storage, no warehouse, but it still is a text amendment. And option 2 also is, both are embedded in both of those, is a text amendment.
That's correct, Council.
Okay. That is, in my opinion, dangerous. That is a path, that is a precedent we do not want to set. That is a chilling effect on hundreds of property owners and neighborhoods. So I would urge my colleagues not to support that. And I would also urge my colleagues to remember that this is not allowed internalized storage at this site. And the residents have told us the general plan, they do not want internalized storage at this site. This is a dense residential area, and this has very successful businesses and property owners under the same existing zoning in that area. This is what they expect. So I would urge my colleagues not to support the motion on the floor.
So I'm going to withdraw that motion. Essentially what I'm trying to get to is I'd like us to work with this property owner, and how do we get there? I guess we get there by denying their application. They've been going through the process since December of last year, and certainly their version of this is they're having a lot of difficulties getting to do something at this location without it being broad strokes across the whole city. So I don't know how you get there, but I'd sure like to see, I think this is a good use. Maybe not with the roll-up exterior perimeter storage units, but I think it's a good use at this location. So, you know, I'm afraid we're getting an anti-business reputation here as well when we take all this time for an applicant and just, you know, can't get the property user. And the last thing I want to do is see apartments at this location, which I believe is really high risk as a matter of right. So, you know, I'm hesitant to just say, that's it, close the door and go do your thing with apartments there. I mean, we'll see how this plays out, but getting creative with projects like this for longtime property owners that have undertaken the process, good fit for this location too. So there's something not in sync there. So I have trouble with that. But if the only way to avoid it applying to every other building, 632 or whatever you said, is to deny it, I'm also going to ask you to be creative and work with this applicant. I mean, I'm troubled by this. Councilwoman Whitehead.
Thank you, Mayor. And I want to clarify, because I share some of the concerns of the mayor about apartments here. We have a vacant building that I call unstructured housing and crime. But that said, I guess the lesson learned is our staff, our planning staff, I think is the best in the state. So thank you for your work on this. And I always encourage the applicants to work with staff. And so there are paths besides text amendments, and text amendments, your client could build the most beautiful wall, but the other 700 may not, and our ability to enforce via DRB is really limited and could be getting more limited. So I think, as the mayor said, there isn't an option tonight without impacting citywide parcels. And so I'm not going to support that, but it's not that I don't support some sort of zoning that will provide good use of the land, low traffic, and honestly, I agree, prevent more apartments in this area because we do have high traffic in that area. So thank you.
Councilwoman Littlefield.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, I kind of agree with both Councilwoman Whitehead and Councilman Graham. We need to work with this a little bit more if we possibly can, if there's any way to get what they want without doing a general plan amendment. This is the problem with general plan amendments. It affects the entire city, and that can have a lot of unintended consequences going forward. And that is my biggest concern. I have a problem with that. It allows for the unintended consequence, but I do like what you're trying to do. So I would suggest we try to find a way, does it have to be a general plan amendment? Is there any way we can just work with this particular piece of property to get where she wants to go? That's really my question.
Mayor and Councilman Littlefield, I think that there's certainly other options out there, and believe us that we've been working with the applicant, and we definitely would like to continue working with the applicant. So don't get us wrong there. I think that it looks like the direction for the applicant is the alternative of looking for appropriate zoning designation to rezone this property, and then working through the creative criteria to reduce its impacts, but still make this property as viable as possible.
Let me ask you one other thing. This is kind of probably a stupid question, but I'm not a zoning expert in any way, shape, or form. Can you take this one property and have different zonings on different parts of the property?
So, Mayor and Councilman Littlefield, there aren't, particularly in our commercial zoning districts, there aren't district size limitations, or maximums or limitations. So, theoretically, you could do something like that. It would be unusual, but that may be a creative approach that we look at.
Why don't we try a little cut and pasting here and see if we can bring that back? My big concern is this affects over 600 other parcels in the city, and they don't know about this. And I think that is a huge concern going forward. If we could make it so it wasn't a general plan amendment, and we just changed the zoning so that we could dice it, if you will, splice it a little bit, maybe that's a way to weed through this. I don't know, just a thought. Thank you.
All great comments, Councilwoman Littlefield. On that note, I don't see, do you have anything else, Carolyn? I don't know. Okay, go ahead. Do you have one? It seemed like you wanted to say one final thing before we took a vote. You don't have to.
Mayor and Council, procedurally, if this is an appropriate time, I'd like to request that we withdraw the application.
I think that's a great idea. I would do an alternative motion to approve that.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second. No request to speak. All those in favor, please indicate by aye.
Oh, Madam Mayor, point of order. Can we do that, Mr. Parliamentarian?
I just did an amended motion after I withdrew my motion previously.
If I could just hear from the parliamentarian.
So, Mayor and members of the council, the question is, the applicant is seeking to withdraw their application.
Right.
And now there was a motion on the table to deny the application, then there was an alternative motion to accept the withdrawal. Probably the simplest thing is to acknowledge the withdrawal of the application.
Without a motion.
Without a motion.
Okay, that's all you need? Acknowledgement? Okay, let's acknowledge that, and I guess we're done. Excellent. Thank you. Good luck. Right. That concludes item number, I think that was 17. Where am I here? Next, we have number 18, receipt of citizens petition. I don't show any, and so moving right along, we have mayor and council items 19 through 21. First up is boards and commissions and committees 2024 annual report presentations. Tonight we have presentations from the library board and Lost Trust Fund board. Calling up the library board. Thank you. Thank you for being here tonight. Of course. Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to, good evening, and it's my pleasure. I'm Michael Beck. I'm the staff representative and serve as your library director, and I'll be co-presenting with our library board chair, Dr. Frida Hartman. Okay. All right, so the library's board purpose. So you can see the purpose of the library board shall advise the city manager and the city council on general policy relating to the operation of the library. The recommendations of the board shall be advisory only and shall not be binding upon the city manager or the city council. The library board consists of 7 members appointed by the city council, and each member will be appointed for a term of 3 years or until a successor is appointed. All right, next slide, please. So some of the key accomplishments, we greatly appreciate the library board and its service. They help advise the library to be innovative and creative in the services and the programs that we offer. And so as far as part of that wrap up on the strategic plan, so in 2022 to 2023, the library embarked on a community assessment, and that came to fruition a library 5-year strategic plan. And so I'm going to recap real quickly on year 2. So we're always looking to increase access to the library for our community and our residents. The library board was able to help us with the website. We worked with Kelly Corset and his city communications team, and we unveiled a new website. And so we want to make things easily accessible. We consider that our 5th branch. It's open 24/7, and people can access their account and reserve materials. And so the board was instrumental in giving us feedback and adding more pictures and reducing a lot of the text and to make it a little bit more user-friendly. Also, for that, we always try to strive, and the board is very helpful in giving us ideas to be innovative and creative. You know, we look for ways to offer the services that make the Scottsdale Public Library the best library in the state. I'm biased, but but we do take a look at being innovative and creative. Some of the things that we've done was taking risks and pilots. So for example, one of the projects that the board weighed in on that we were able to implement was the Mustang Story Wall. And so that was a 6-figure project that the library was able to use and fund 100% with not general funds. We were able to get grants and also library and gifts donations, and that's made a game changer for our Mustang residents. And so what that did was create a safe and secure environment for our library patrons. And so that way the people, the kids can let loose, and then the adults can have a more quieter experience. But that's one of the innovative ways that the board helps us weigh in and be creative. So some of the other things that we've done is to try and increase access. It's also about the 4 physical libraries, but we also have the Hold It Locker at Granite Reef. We also have Second Chance collections at the 2 senior centers, and we're working with other city departments and other nonprofits on the ability to maybe do like free little lending libraries where they can come in. We'll have QR codes where they can scan and then hopefully be able to get a library card registration, access to our digital materials, and then have some print materials available that way. And so the board is very critical and helpful in us in helping to make those community partners. And with that, Chair Hartman will talk about some of the community outreach that the board does.
Sure. It's my pleasure to talk about the community outreach.
Can you activate your microphone? Thank you.
Can you hear me now? Yeah. Good? Okay. Yeah. Very happy to talk about community outreach because this is a major area of engagement by the board members. I'm going to talk about very briefly 4 areas of community outreach. One is event participation, as you might imagine. The library has a really robust menu of events every month, and the library board members do go out and they participate in these events, going out into the community, or they may be some internal events, staff recognition or appreciation events. We have the volunteer appreciation events. We have the external events, which are the Bonanza, for example, that occurs in the spring. We have the Ultimate Play Date that's usually in the late fall. And we also have other general Scottsdale activities like Parada del Sol, and we're there in the parade. Also the Spirit of Literacy Awards. So a good example of the engagement in events. Secondly, we do try to facilitate connections between the organizations that we are engaged in or employed in that might have some connection to the public libraries with the library. So if there are partnership opportunities available there, the library and Director Beck is very good about reaching out and trying to see if those connections make sense and how that can be furthered for the library. So we do try to facilitate that. Some of the organizations have been sister cities, the Scottsdale Unified School District, colleges and universities. Those are examples of how we try to help the public libraries make those connections. Third area is each of our board members, and we have 7, each of them serves as a board liaison. There's a liaison role to one of the branches. And in that capacity, they go regularly. By regularly, we mean every month. They go out to their branch, they circulate, they meet the patrons there, they talk to them, find out what's on their mind, what do they like, what do they maybe think we could do a little bit better. They participate in events, and all of that is what they devote to that particular branch. And so they build the connection and the relationship, which becomes very strong, and we appreciate that. The fourth area that they work in, and this is a little bit more along the lines of helping each board member to be the best in their advisory role that they can possibly be. In order to be the best, you need to be up to date and conversant with what's happening with libraries across the board. Externally, you have to have that connection and be really mindful of that and engaged in that. So what do? Our board members participate in conferences, the American Library Association Conference, the Arizona Library Association Conference, other conferences. Some of them are remote online, so they're available to our board members. But they get a lot of insight into what's happening in the field of libraries. What are some of the key trends? What are the issues? What are the talking areas and discussion areas? They bring that all back to every meeting in which we have an agenda item, which is member reports. So everything that they've done during that past month, they have the opportunity to report and make public, and what they learned, what they think is valuable to share with Director Beck and the staff. So this is what we do in community outreach. I do also want to talk about policy reviews just a minute, because at every one of our board meetings, the board members are engaged in providing feedback and input to policies. Every board meeting, we have usually one policy that's been worked on in the prior month by the staff member, who brings us the original version, the marked up version, and the one that came from that, so that we have an opportunity to see what's been updated, and we can comment on that. So part of our board meeting discussion consists of providing input and feedback on that policy. And we've been, I think, very successful in doing that in terms of raising some awareness on areas that maybe weren't captured in the original draft, and we thought would be a good idea to take a look at it and see what the staff thinks about that. So, for example, one of the areas that we were engaged in had to do with rules of conduct, and that was the policy, rules of conduct. And as you know, there was the new cafe that opened up at Civic Center, and it's very popular. And so in conjunction with that, the board members raised the idea that in rules of conduct, it really relates also to making sure you're a good citizen and a good neighbor. You don't, clean up your trash, be conscious of that. And so that was something that we suggested to be incorporated into the policy, something about that, so that it would become part of the record, and that would be a positive. Same thing with unattended children. There were some, as we looked at that policy, there was a long policy, there were some maybe inconsistencies between paragraphs, first part of the policy, last part of the policy. So we would do that kind of discussion and input on it. So in terms of policy reviews, we do the advisement, and we carry out what we think are our due diligence as far as advisement. And hopefully it's valuable to the department, and Director Beck can speak to that. But we're going to move forward to what we're looking at in the future. So looking forward, Director Beck's going to talk about that.
Okay, all right, next slide, please. So again, like I mentioned earlier, so we're going and ready to embark on year 3 for our implementation of our strategic plan. Some of the things that we're looking at to continue on is to meet the community where the residents where they are. And so again, it's not necessarily about the 4 libraries, but it's hard to believe we're already at event season again. And so the library makes a concerted effort to make sure that we're at every major city event, doing info booths, signing up people for cards, renewing people for cards, and telling them about some of the unique services beyond a traditional library. Everybody knows the library has the market on books, but we do some really unique things as far as like having the seed library, the Culture Pass programs where residents can go to like the botanical gardens for free. You know, that's over $120 value for residents. And so there's some unique opportunities that, you know, the residents don't necessarily know, and to go out into the community and tell them about them. And so, you know, as part of that, and also highlighting some of the pilot and the new services that we have that are coming up. So recently, the library, I have a really good library team. I also represent 118 employees. They do a really good job and help make my job easier. And so we were recently awarded 5 LSTA grants at almost $50,000. That may not sound like a lot, but in library land, that's more than double what normally our awards go for. And so we're looking to pilot some really innovative services like mobile Wi-Fi hotspots. We're also going to do writers in residence. So we'll have published authors that will come in and help aspiring authors come in, take a look at their scripts and any kind of tips from the publishing world. And so that goes right into the heart of the library's espousing literacy efforts in the community. And so we're really excited for the future. And so we also have one other initiative coming up. We partner with Scottsdale Unified School District, Scottsdale Community College, and other institutions of higher learning to develop a college and career corner. So in about 3 weeks, we're going to have a college and career week with the culmination of a college fair and working with SUSD. And so we'll have a number of informational booths, universities, and colleges to help us kick off that unique service. We'll also have the opportunity to partner with the school district to augment and supplement what they do as an avenue of what they do beyond the schools. And so we'll have the ability for students to work with their parents and caregivers to do one-on-one appointment sessions on scholarships, doing their FAFSA applications, and so for a free service. And one of the other grants that we were awarded was a College Now resource, which will give them an online confidential opportunity to talk with a dedicated and certified counselor as well if they don't want to come into the library. And so we're really pushing the envelope and doing some really unique things. And I appreciate the council and the leadership of Mr. Caton and Director Peters to really support the efforts that the library is doing to help us make successful and to take those risks. And so with that, Chair Hartman will talk a little bit more about some of the changes in technology that we're facing.
And we're being very future-oriented, of course, so we're talking about how we're positioning the library, or rather how the department is positioning the library with our advisement, in terms of serving the entire community. So we're mindful that there are small business and entrepreneurships that, people want to start their own business and control their lives. And that's part of the College and Career Corner 2 service that's provided. And we're mindful of the changes in technology and what those bring about, and how it's incumbent upon all of us to stay up to date on what technology is. Technology is expensive, though. We talk about what technology is available out there and how it's evolving. It's like mushrooming, as we all know. Rapid evolution. We're not, at the libraries, we're not strangers to technology and those changes. But we also recognize that, there has to be a kind of a gradual growth in it as well. Because frankly, we learn along with the technology, right? We don't automatically become experts. Digital engagement is becoming more and more important, as we found in technology. That means a lot of what were materials, physical materials, are now moving into digital materials and digital collections. There's more in terms of e-books, audiobooks, streaming services. Those are the ones that patrons are asking for. And the patrons are all the way from the children all the way up to the seniors. They're asking for these services. And of course, again, they're very diversified and they're very value added, but they're also expensive to do, and it has to be done strategically. as Director Beck is very good at doing. Two of the areas that are most exciting, I think, and you probably heard a lot about this, artificial intelligence and how we're using artificial intelligence in the library. See, I sort of feel an ownership when I say we're using it right, because we're representing the patrons and we're representing the community. And artificial intelligence is the next really big issue in technology and what that will allow us to do. It's amazing if you've ever looked at using artificial intelligence to do research or find the answer to a question. You don't have to look through 20 books. You can go in there and within 1 minute, you can find the information that you're looking for. So that type of evolution is going to be really important in the future of the libraries. There's another one, it's called virtual reality. And I do want to commend Director Beck for his efforts at getting a request in for an award that the library was given to pilot virtual reality. I don't know whether how familiar everybody is with that, but that's in essence taking something that's two-dimensional and making it multi-dimensional and adding color and layers to every single thing that you see. And it's a huge learning experience. So these are all very positive movements that the Department of Public Libraries is doing, and the Library Board is delighted to be a partner in that, and we feel like we're a full partner in terms of advising the director and his staff in different directions that we see, what we hear from patrons, what we hear from business community and others in other organizations in the community in terms of their needs. So with that, I think we're going to close our presentation, correct?
Correct. So again, just to bring it to a close, we're happy to answer any questions, but I want to take a moment to, again, thank the support of the council, again, for approving the SGIA grant that helped build the Mustang sound wall. And I know many of you have attended library events, including the Spirit of Literacy. And with that, we'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you so much. That was a wonderful and very informative discussion. Thank you. Councilwoman Whitehead.
I just want to thank both of you, Dr. Hartman and Michael. I'll tell you, we get a lot of updates from the city on great things happening, whether it's longer hours, more participation in events. And I've learned so much in this presentation. So well beyond what even the city is trying to put out there. So I support, and the Seed Library, that just was a special one for me. But I just really appreciate it. It really shows how important our boards and commissions are. But thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We've given you a fraction of what we experience
got a lot of
every
energy.
single month, as you might imagine. And I will say the library board members are truly dedicated people who take extra time to get up to speed on the issues so they can be the best that they can be in their advisory role. And that takes an investment on an individual and collective basis because their families are involved too in that. So I want to call
the
them
conferences that adopt, having each member adopt a library, I mean, all of that is just time-consuming, but just what makes, I really, really appreciate it. So
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
Thank you. Councilwoman McAllen.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Dr. Hartman. I know you talked about what the commission does, what the library's doing, and there's even more programs. I was on a Zoom this morning. I know that one of your senior library managers, Sarah Kaufman, invited me to be part of a group to look into possibly expanding Read On Arizona into Scottsdale. It used to exist, and now they're looking at bringing it back. So there's so many more programs that you're beginning also. So thank you for allowing us to be a part of that, asking me to be a part of that, and for all that you do.
Thank you, Council.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Littlefield.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for what you do. I am probably your oldest and longest patron of the library. I was born and raised here, and when I was 4, we had regular weekly trips to the library, which was at the Little Red Schoolhouse, and the children's section was downstairs. So you went downstairs, you had a flashlight, so you turned off the overhead lights, and you crawled under the stairs with your Oz book, and you read all about the wizard and the evil witch, and you had games, and you had made up stories, and it was one of the most wonderful times that any children could have. And we went every week, and it was the highlight of our week. And we had evil witches down there, we had good witches down there, we had wizards, and we had Dorothy, and we had Toto, and we had all this stuff. And we lived the life of the books. And it wasn't just those books, it was a lot of the children's books that you had down there. So I ask you, don't make everything bright lights and no secret dark places where you can have your own imagination come to life. Because there's a lot of places and a lot of caves and all kinds of fun stuff that kids can play with, and it remains in their memories all their lives. I remember those days just like new. And my friends across the way and my mother would get us in the car and we'd travel down there and spend the afternoon in the basement of the Little Red Schoolhouse, because that's where the library was then. And we just had wonderful, wonderful adventures. And then we had to go home, and it was not so much wonderful.
Wonderful story. Thank you for sharing.
But thank you very, very much for what you do.
Thank you. And you know, we talk about technology a lot, but I can't tell you how many patrons will tell us there's nothing more satisfying than I come to the library and I have a book in my hand, and I sit down in a chair that's really comfortable and I start reading it. And then I find a friend who I can talk to about the book, and it becomes a community building event. So that's, I think, one of the great untold stories of how central libraries are to building the dynamic, the fabric of the community. So I want to call that off to you.
Very true. And thank you.
Thank you so much. Wonderful job. Appreciate your volunteering for us and all your hard work and
Thank you.
enthusiasm.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, and have a good evening. Thank you.
Take care.
Now I will invite the Lost Trust Board up.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, George Woods, Safety and Risk Management, presenting for the Lost Trust Fund Board. I have with me our Vice Chair, Austin Brooker. Austin Brooker is the Director of Acquisitions with the Alliance group of companies, and he'll be co-presenting with me today. Next slide, please. Oh, sorry, I also have Mrs. Denise Plug, she assists the board. I also have another member of our board, Mrs. Tammy Smith, and I have Mrs. Lori Davis, who is the counsel out of the Civil Litigation Division for the Lost Trust Fund Board. The purpose of the Lost Trust Fund Board is to oversee the administration of the Lost Trust Fund and ensure adherence to the Declaration of Trust. This includes the retention of actuarial services, auditors, consultants, and advisors necessary to carry out the business and purpose of the Lost Trust Fund. The Lost Trust Fund also authorizes the Safety and Risk Management Director to procure the necessary insurance and coverages to meet the city's property and casualty exposures. The Lost Trust Fund Board also authorizes the Safety and Risk Management Director to administer the day-to-day affairs of the trust. The Lost Trust Fund Board also recommends modifications of the terms and conditions of the trust document to City Council. Next slide, please. The makeup of the Lost Trust Fund Board. The Lost Trust Fund Board consists of 5 members. All members are appointed at large by City Council. Members of the Lost Trust Fund Board must be qualified in a field related to risk management. The term of each member is 3 years from appointment with a maximum term of 6 years. The liaison to the Lost Trust Fund Board is the Safety and Risk Management Director, myself, George Woods, and the board receives legal counsel from, again, Mrs. Lori Davis, the Deputy City Attorney out of the Civil Litigation Division. Next slide, please. We're going to talk about a few key accomplishments coming out of the Lost Trust Fund Board and some decisions that were made out of the Lost Trust Fund Board. I'll turn it over to Mr. Brooker.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. This year, the Lost Trust Fund Board reviewed and took action on several important matters. The first key accomplishment that we have listed is the funding confidence level topic. One of our most important areas of focus this year was reviewing the appropriate funding confidence level for the Lost Trust Fund. Each year, the board submits a report to City Council with a recommendation on the amount the Lost Trust Fund should be funded. This funding amount is based on an analysis completed by a third-party actuary. The funding confidence level represents how much we need to set aside in order to cover expected claims for the upcoming year. The actuary's analysis provides a scale that ranges from best-case scenarios to worst-case scenarios for expected claims and losses. It uses national data to determine what's most probable for our organization, the City of Scottsdale. Now, some background info on this. The city transitioned to a new actuary in 2023. It was previously Aon, and it's now Oliver Wyman. The board has historically made the funding recommendation to council based on an 85% confidence level using Aon scale, which was previously the old actuary. Oliver Wyman's new analysis showed that to keep the 85% confidence level, the fund would require an additional $5 million more than we would typically have recommended. Their analysis also indicated that the city's historical funding amounts lined up with a 75% confidence level on their scale. So in other words, an 85% confidence level, according to the prior actuary, Aon, is roughly the same in dollar amount figure as the 75% annual or 75% confidence level with this new actuary, Oliver Wyman. So the board had a detailed discussion on the balance between fiscal prudence as well as fund surplus. We discussed costs, contingency reserves, and possible volatility. We debated whether to maintain the confidence level at 85%, revise it down to 75%, or meet in the middle and adopt a stepped approach. Ultimately, the board unanimously approved a motion to budget at an 80% confidence level for fiscal year 2025-2026. This effectively split the difference and allows flexibility as we monitor ongoing claims and loss development. This decision provides a prudent balance. It strengthens reserves without requiring an immediate $2 to $5 million of additional allocation, but still moves toward a more conservative position over time. So moving on to the board's second key accomplishment, the changes that were made to the trust and the ordinance. So in addition to these confidence level discussions, we had discussed and approved recommendations to City Council on changes to trust language and city ordinance regarding departmental claim deductibles. These were subsequently approved by Council. We also discussed the ability to raise the property damage claims deductible for each city department depending on severity and if it was a preventable incident. Our third key accomplishment that we have listed is the review of that actuarial study I mentioned earlier. So the board, we had an in-depth presentation and discussion of that annual actuarial study completed for the city's property and casualty programs. This was delivered by Adam Hirsch of Oliver Wyman, and while no action was required, it provided critical insights for myself and our board regarding future planning. Next slide, please. The upcoming opportunities, challenges, and outcomes. Looking ahead, the board will continue to evaluate the city's funding confidence levels to ensure that the trust remains financially strong. We anticipate ongoing discussions this year around emerging risks, actuarial assumptions, and ensuring alignment with best practices in municipal risk management. We see our role as helping the city stay proactive so that when unexpected losses occur, the trust remains strong and reliable. And that really concludes our report on the activities of the Lost Trust Fund Board. On behalf of the board, I want to thank Council for the support and engagement. I'm happy to take any questions, comments, or feedback at this time.
Thank you, Austin. Appreciate your work on the board very much. Councilwoman Whitehead.
Just very interesting. So thank you for being here and really for that work that you've done. So thank you.
And thank you, George. And thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council.
All right, that concludes the boards and commissions report presentations. And moving on to item number 20, at the request of Councilman Quasman, a request to direct the city manager to agendize for a future council meeting an item regarding presentation, discussion, and possible direction related to photo enforcement cameras, including speed detection systems and red light cameras. I'll turn it over to you, Councilman Quasman.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. So All we're asking here is just a presentation from law enforcement to talk about how the utilization of red light cameras provide for the public safety, whether there is a differentiation in efficacy between cameras at red lights and then cameras also off of red lights, so along thoroughfares, how the funding mechanisms work with red light cameras, fees, and so on. So very simple, easy presentation.
Thank you. Vice Mayor DeBoscus.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I see we have our police chief here in the audience. I would just like to ask the chief if you're supportive of this motion, this request. Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you. Also, on a prior mayor and council item, we talked about having a presentation on the lights, the red lights and lagging left-hand turn arrows. I'd love to see this item, if you didn't have any opposition, combined together with that one. I think it might centralize that discussion. All right, with that, we have three choices. Direct city manager to agendize this item for a future meeting, direct city manager to investigate and prepare a written response, or take no action. I'll make a motion to, number one, direct city manager to agendize the item for a future
I'll
meeting.
second that.
Did you want to say something?
Oh, no, I'll just second your motion. Thank you. I was going to motion.
Thank you. All those in favor indicate by aye. Button, yes. All right, and then Councilman Klausman also has 20A, which is direct the city attorney to conduct a comprehensive review of Scottsdale Revised Code, Chapter 2, related to the Code of Ethical Behavior, general, and make, this doesn't make sense to me with this, the way this is stated. But why don't you talk about it?
Yeah,
Councilman
this is not as nebulous as that makes it look like. I just want to do a full review. I think a timely review of any type of ethics rubric for any city, any legislative body should be reviewed. This was something I talked about when I ran for office, and this would be an ongoing. It wouldn't be a single presentation. It would be an ongoing study to then be presented at the appropriate time with no specific deadline of having a full comprehensive review of how Scottsdale works and their ethics, and whether there's other cities might have an ad hoc committee or otherwise, right? And have a full comprehensive ethics package that then would, and it might be just nothing, might be doing absolutely nothing, but we're looking for, it would be something that, God willing, would get unanimous support in moving forward. So just one of those regular, good old-fashioned auto maintenance items on government structure.
So I think it's a good idea, but I'm just curious, city attorney, do we do that as a matter of regular protocol, or is that just kind of on the shelf and requires special action to direct you?
Mayor and members of the council, it would require special action in that we wouldn't normally take a look at this particular code without direction, since it affects you all directly. I think Councilman Klausman has stated exactly my understanding of the item. We would compare and look at all the different cities in this area and perhaps out of state, look at the current code, make any recommendations for improvement that are appropriate, and we'll take our time, we'll do a thorough deep dive and get back to you with a work study.
Sounds great. Anyone have a motion?
So moved.
Well,
Second.
to number one, agendize it for a future meeting, or just number two, to direct the city attorney to investigate?
Yeah, I would prefer, Madam Mayor, I think number two, would you think that,
Yeah.
would you think that you'd want direct, if Madam Mayor, Luis, would you prefer it to be how would you see in the vision, would you want it to be an agendized item for a future meeting? Because that agendized item would then give you the direction also, or do you want to just send it to you right now? In your opinion, what is the best course of action for this?
Mayor and members of the council, I would prefer to have you direct me to look into this.
It's number 2.
Number 2.
Thank you.
So I will motion to adopt number 2, direct the city attorney to come back at a later time with the review of that.
Second.
All those in favor, indicate your vote. Thank you. All right, moving on to item 21. This is boards, commissions, and task force nominations. As such, I will turn the rest of the meeting over to Vice Mayor for this process.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This evening, the City Council will be nominating Scottsdale residents interested in serving on citizen advisory boards, commissions, and committees. The Scottsdale City Council is responsible for establishing city policies and enacting laws in support of those policies. The council relies on volunteer, citizen-based boards and commissions to research issues and make recommendations in support of the council's mission and goals. The information and recommendations provided by council-appointed advisory boards is a valuable tool in helping council members in their deliberations. Appointments for these positions will be made at a special city council meeting on September 9th. As we begin our process this evening, I'd like to note to my colleagues that an applicant only needs to receive 1 nomination in order to advance to the interview before council. When I call on you, if your chosen applicant or applicants have already been nominated by a council member, please state no additional, and we'll move on in the process. Thank you, and now let's get started. Our first is the Airport Advisory Commission. We have 1 opening. The Airport Advisory Commission advises the City Council on policy matters relating to the operation of the airport, proposals for development, airport area land use, fees, and safety concerns. There is 1 vacancy and 8 applicants. The applicants are Fred Atarian, Craig Bennett, David Gans, Michael Gonzalez, Stephen Kressler, David McCartney, John Sloan, and Carl Stein. I'll now entertain nominations for the Airport Advisory Commission. Each council member can nominate 1 applicant. I'll start with Councilman Quasman.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. Craig Bennett, please. I nominate Craig Bennett.
Councilman McCowan.
David Gans.
John Sloan.
Fred Atarian.
David McCartney?
Your mic wasn't on. Councilwoman Littlefield, you said McCartney.
I'm sorry, David McCartney?
No additional.
And I have no additional. Fred Atarian. Oop. I was going to read him off. Fred Atarian, Craig Bennett, David Gans, David McCartney, and John Sloan have been nominated. The Board of Adjustment, we have 1 opening. The Board of Adjustment is a quasi-judicial body that hears variance requests, appeals of the zoning administrator's interpretations, decisions, and decides on administrative decisions or zoning requirements which create unnecessary hardships in the development of property because of exceptional or extraordinary conditions. There is 1 vacancy and 2 applicants. The applicants are Kenneth Erler and Martha West. I will now entertain nominations for the Board of Adjustment. Each council member can nominate 1 applicant, starting with Councilwoman McCowan.
Martha West.
No addition.
Kenneth Erler.
No additional.
Okay. So we have nominated Kenneth Erler and Martha West. The Building Advisory Board of Appeals, there is 1 opening. There's currently 1 opening. However, the city did not receive any applications for consideration. The current opening will be included in the next cycle of board and commission appointments. As such, we'll move on to the next commission. Historic Preservation Commission, there is 1 opening. The Historic Preservation Commission oversees the development and management of Scottsdale's historic preservation program. Special qualifications here. As outlined in the Scottsdale City Code, each member shall have demonstrated special interest, knowledge, or experience in at least one of the following: building construction, history, architectural history, real estate, historic preservation law, or other historic preservation-related field. There is one vacancy and one applicant. The applicant is Mark McCurdy. I'll now entertain a nomination for the Historic Preservation Commission.
Mark McCurdy.
No additional.
No additional.
Mark McCurdy has been nominated. Library Board, there is one opening. The Library Board advises the City Council on general policy relating to the programs, services, and future development of the Scottsdale Public Libraries. The board oversees the library's special revenue fund, which is made up of donations and funds generated through the sale of used books and magazines. There is one vacancy and 7 applicants. The applicants are Haley Beal, Mac Cobb, John Grosses Close, Mary McBride, Jillian Nausbaum, Patricia Pellet, Monica Sonnenklar. I'll now entertain nominations for the Library Board. Each council member can nominate one applicant. Mayor Borowski?
Patricia Pellet.
Councilwoman Littlefield?
John Grosses.
No additional.
No additional.
Microphone.
Monica Sonnenklar.
Councilwoman McCallan?
Mary McBride.
No additional.
John Grosclose, Mary McBride, Patricia Pellet, Monica Sonnenklar have been nominated. Tourism Development Commission, 2 Scottsdale hotelier openings. The Tourism Development Commission advises the City Council on matters concerning the expenditure of revenues from the transaction privilege tax on transient lodging, the bed tax, designated for tourism development. Special qualifications. As specified in the Scottsdale City Code, the Tourism Development Commission shall consist of representatives of the tourism industry in Scottsdale, including a minimum of 4 Scottsdale hoteliers, 1 member of the Scottsdale Convention and Visitors Bureau, and a balance from elements of the tourism industry. There are 2 Scottsdale hotelier position vacancies and 2 applicants. The applicants are Stephen Miller, Alex Shelton. I'll now entertain nominations for the Tourism Development Commission. Each council member can nominate 2 applicants. Councilwoman Littlefield.
Stephen Miller and Alex Shelton.
Yep.
We have nominated Stephen Miller and Alex Shelton.
I think it's Stephen Miller. Yeah, sorry.
This concludes our nomination process this evening. Individuals nominated will be contacted by city staff with additional information. I'd like to take this opportunity to sincerely thank all who have applied to serve on a citizen advisory board or commission. Even if you were not nominated, your application will remain on file for 1 year for consideration at a future date if there are additional vacancies. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. That concludes our business for this evening. Thank you all for being patient, and motion to adjourn.
Second.
Done.
We are done.